Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Pull Back the Curtain for this Thursday, August 6th. My name is Rob Bolden. I'm the Artistic Administrator for Pittsburgh Opera, and we are so glad that you are here with us. If this is your first episode tuning in, thank you so much. If you have become a regular in these first three episodes, again, thank you so much. It's just good to be with you this afternoon. Before we proceed any further, I do want to say a thank you to this week's corporate sponsor, Highmark Blue Cross Blue Shield. Thank you for the support and being a part of the Pittsburgh Opera family. It's because of corporate sponsors like you that allow us to do the work that we do, and we cannot thank you enough for being a member of the Pittsburgh Opera family, corporate sponsor, in everything that we do. Along those lines, thank you all for joining us today. And if you'd like to join us in donations, please feel free to check out the link in the comments section. We're so happy that you're with us. We're so happy that you're part of the Pittsburgh Opera family. So if you want to learn more, you can check out that link in the comments section. And if throughout the broadcast here, this is just a quick reminder of where to go, you can get all sorts of information at pittsburghopera.org/give now. And you can check that out as well. So thank you for being here. Thanks for being with us. This episode is on the heels of this week's press release that Pittsburgh Opera put out. In the midst of this ongoing health crisis and pandemic, so many companies have had to pivot, have had to revamp their upcoming seasons, and Pittsburgh Opera is no different. So today, our episode is dedicated to taking a look at how we have gone about that and what is to come this particular season. I couldn't be happier to be joined today by Pittsburgh Opera's General Director for this discussion. So I'm going to bring him into the stream now and welcome him to Pull Back the Curtain. Let me just move things around, and we will welcome Christopher Hahn to Pull Back the Curtain. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey, it's my pleasure, Rob. And up front, I just want to say welcome to my back garden. And also to say, if you hear any annoyed birds or if you hear any sirens, it's nothing I can do about it. So I'm thrilled to be here. And I'd also like, by the way, just to turn the microphone on you for a change. You've been doing this great job, but our listenership and viewers don't probably know that you are very, 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 very close to becoming a proud father. And the fact that you are on this broadcast means that you have not received the call from your wife. So everybody out there, we're hoping the phone does not ring in the next half hour because Rob's going to have to rush off. So congratulations in advance. We're all looking forward to the happy announcement. The Pittsburgh Opera family could not be more thrilled at the soon-to-be additional Bolden in our midst. So congratulations for looking so calm under these conditions.
Well, thank you. It is, it's definitely exciting. And unlike other episodes, maybe a few weeks ago, my phone is definitely on. So,
and you know, I mean, producing opera is not unlike producing a baby. It takes a few fewer people to do it. But, oh my goodness, the ramifications are enormous. So I'm thrilled to be here and to talk about what we have upcoming for the season under these extraordinary conditions.
Indeed. Well, Christopher, thank you for that. We are thrilled and excited to bring this little one into the world and welcome them into the Pittsburgh Opera family and just the world at large. They're going to be surrounded by so much love and support. So as we say in the opera business, it takes a village, and I don't think that is lost on Jill nor I. So we are looking forward to it.
Great.
So, but taking a look and moving into today's topic at hand, the season, the 2020-21 season. Like so many companies across the country, there have been pivots, revamps, rethinking in so many ways in terms of how to get in touch with our audience. For starters, do you just want to talk a little bit about the high level, what we have done and where we are going, some of the big changes that are in store?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right that sort of we have been, along with everybody in the world, but particularly in the performing arts universe, pivoting madly. And of course, many of us have been doing an enormous amount of work digitally and online because there has not been an alternative. And so what we've been doing at Pittsburgh Opera we've been looking at how we can, under extraordinary safe terms, still bring live opera to our community, because after all, that's our mission, that's why we're here. Um, and although it may have been tempting just to take the year off and do I don't know what, we all decided no, we were going to try to figure a way out. And I'm very thrilled and grateful that because we've got such a creative team, that we've worked together very, very feverishly over the last few months, you included, to be
Indeed.
able to announce a completely revamped season, which, of course, unfortunately, postpones the majority of our previously announced work, which was all in sort of big venues. But in a sort of a wonderful twist of fate. There have been so many strange twists of fate lately. Because we are in the lucky position of owning our own building. Um, Anybody who hasn't visited us should know that we are the proud owners of the original George Westinghouse Jr. air brake factory in Pittsburgh, down in the Strip District. It's 44,000 square feet of space. And we've been in there for over 10 years, and we need every inch of it. But generally speaking, in normal years, we perform there. We perform operas there just once a season. We call it our second stage project. It's dedicated to very, very contemporary work. And of course, it's always small because under normal circumstances, I must stop doing these air quotes, but whenever normal returns, we're all going to be thrilled about it. Under normal circumstances, we would perform for about 200 people. We know that we cannot do that under these circumstances. We know that that would not be safe. And so we are reconfiguring our season to perform only in this flexi space where we can ensure very strict safety measures for a small audience, the performers, and the staff who are working it. So,
Christopher, may I stop you there just before we get into some of that nitty gritty? I wanted to just touch on one point that you just brought up, the postponement of some of our productions. I think it's important to, before we look to the 2020-21 season, I think it's important to highlight that we didn't just take the productions that were originally slated for the coming season and throw them out. We did take a very hard look at how we could bring those back. And to your point, rather than just simply outright canceling, we have been able to move those productions and then being able to bring those cast members back for the coming season. And why was that so important for us to be able to do? And the Carmen situation, which we had canceled, but as Bill Powers likes to say, we're getting the band back together and bringing that production back as well. Why was that a focus for us while we were looking at this globally?
Well, as you know better than anyone, we have a very, very close relationship with the artists that work with us, and as well as with the audience for whom we all perform. But the extraordinarily difficult circumstances that were visited upon all of the wonderful artists out there who suddenly overnight had all of their work cease was something that was not lost on us. And so we worked very, very hard to be able to move, for instance, the cancelled Carmen into next season. The two fall operas that we had announced, Rusalka and Magic Flute, into the following season. Aida, which should have been in the next season, into the season after that. And we will continue to do that. So that way we can, in some measure, ensure that those wonderful artists will once again be seen in Pittsburgh, but after a pause. So that's really what we've conscientiously done. And I think we all need to really, really, really pay attention to the very grim results that this has had on many, many individual artists and their income. And so we're doing all that we can to ensure that they at least have some, contracts coming down the pike.
Indeed, you hear the stories, many artists posting on social media how almost on a daily or weekly basis they would have productions canceled throughout the rest of 2020 and some into 2021. So I'm thrilled and obviously part of that team that was able to sort of look at that and revamp that, and I'm happy we're able to do that as well as proceed into next season.
Right, and Rob, once again, you know this very well, but maybe our viewers don't, that many opera singers are booked 2 or 3 years ahead, and so trying to reposition with everybody in the opera world, repositioning their productions forward, because many have done what we've been doing, trying to come up with the same cast that was able to perform a year later or 2 years later is quite a feat of logistics, and we've done very, very well on that. So congratulations and thanks for your help.
Well, it was a pleasure. As schedules were open, I was glad in most of those cases to be sending those emails saying we're bringing this back, but unfortunately just not next year. Right. Which leads us into next year for Pittsburgh Opera specifically. Before we get to the individual productions, though, I'd love to hear some bullets about, obviously safety has to be paramount. We're all concerned about this, from every time you step outside to go to the grocery store to any number of other things. And, right. And it needs to remain a top priority, as it does and will for Pittsburgh Opera. Can we touch on a few things that we are doing? You briefly mentioned that smaller venue, but I'd love to hear some of the other things that we're considering as this, and it's a constant conversation as things unfold.
Yeah, I'm going to race through these because I don't want to take up too much time so that we can get to the actual operas. But the other thing I wanted to say before I talk about safety is that in a sort of a wonderful, another twist of fate, we are returning to opera's origin story, because opera started in a room. It started in a room in Florence. It was like a large salon, but it was definitely not as big as the space we have down in the Strip District. Mm-hmm. So opera started with really small, intimate pieces where the audience were a few people, and actually there may not have been even as many as 50, which is what we're hoping to plan for. So once again, we are returning to repertoire that also embraces the intimacy and jewel-like aspect of opera, which is where we really started. So a part of the intimacy is in fact a challenge, because how close are we to everybody in this COVID world? How do we protect the audience? Well, we'll be doing all of the natural things of temperature taking, mask wearing, contactless tickets, contactless programs, etc., etc. We have a very, very wonderful HVAC system in the building, which is CDC compliant, and we probably will be even upgrading it more just to be doubly sure. We will have 90 minutes. Each opera will be no more than 90 minutes, so short, sharp, sweet. And so the need for bathroom breaks is removed mostly, although there'll be access to bathrooms. So the audience basically will have an unusual experience in that there will be really a separate entrance, social distancing, masking, and removal really from everybody else. No intermingling with other members of audience, no chit chat with the staff, no after performance cast parties, and we will be doing the same thing for the singers. The singers will be in an opera bubble and rehearsing only with themselves, the same kind of stringent safety protocols, perhaps performing in masks. And when I start talking about one of the operas. I'm going to say how that will work. And then, of course, the orchestra. We will have smaller, reduced orchestrations, but the biggest orchestra will be around about 16 or 17 people.
Mm-hmm.
And in the orchestra, as we all know, there are instruments that blow wind, wind instruments and brass instruments. So those all have to be positioned very carefully, and they will all be subjected to their own stringent safety protocols, all of which we're working on. So I love to sort of joke that, you know, opera is the most complex of art forms, but in this very instance, where we're also worrying about all these safety protocols, it is definitely true.
Indeed.
So that's why we've decided to be only in our building, only with our resident artists, a couple of guests, under very, very strict conditions.
Indeed. I don't know that we needed this extra layer of stress, but again, the village that produces opera will rise to the occasion. So let's dive in. You mentioned some of the shorter productions and truncated works. So let me bring in the first two that we will be looking at. So this is our fall, essentially, Così fan tutte and David T. Little's Soldier Song. So love to hear a little bit more about each of these.
Right. So Così fan tutte, we added into this as a new part of the season, is miraculously cast for 6 singers, and we have exactly the correct voices in our resident artist program to perform Così. Of course, a superb piece by the fantastic Mr. Mozart, and not lost on many people will be the fact that in normal productions of Così, there is this rather fantastic thing where there are two couples and they're in love, and someone comes along and says, "Oh, you know, people are fickle, women are fickle, and they can be dissuaded from their devotion." No, 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 say the gentleman. Yes, 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 says the philosopher. And they say, "Okay, fine, I'll wager you. You go away, you come back as the other one in disguise, or somebody else in disguise, and see how you get on." Well, disguises often in opera can seem a little clunky, but guess what? If you're wearing a mask, it's quite difficult to tell who's who. So developing on that thought, the brilliant director Crystal Manich, who is one of our stalwart directors, will be setting Così in a munitions factory, much like the George Westinghouse airbrake factory, in 1918. And what was happening in 1918? Well, there was this little pesky thing called the Spanish flu pandemic. And of course, many of us have started reading with interest how we are basically repeating all of the same mistakes and having all of the same thoughts and difficulties. So there we are in one fell swoop by placing Così in 1918 during the Spanish flu. We create an environment in which this classic work, this timeless epic, will sort of be able to be rebirthed under new circumstances. And then the next opera after that, actually we had announced for later in the season, Soldier Song by David T. Little, even shorter than 90 minutes. It's actually just over an hour. It's a solo piece for a solo baritone, very, very powerful, based on the thoughts and effects of war on individuals, on the soldier. So that's going to be a tour de force, and is, of course, classically made for a socially distanced opera because there's only one singer in it. So that's the fall.
Indeed, David T. Little Soldier Songs taken from interviews of veterans and sort of from the vantage point of veterans over the course of their vantage point of war, from a young boy all the way through an older man, and on all of those perspectives. It's a fascinating piece, and I'm thrilled we're doing it and bringing it to Pittsburgh. So let's take a look at this next image of the spring, if you will. And we get a visit with Herr Handel's Semele and Charlie Parker's Yardbird. So I'd love to hear a little bit about these two pieces as well.
Right. Well, those of our viewers who have followed us know that we've plumbed the beauties of Baroque opera over the last 20 years very successfully. And I have Semele is for me one of my personal favorites. And we've never been able to find the right slot for it and the right occasion for it. Once again, ironically, Handel's pieces fit beautifully in an intimate and small setting. And once again, we had the perfect casting for it. So it sort of naturally slipped into place. I should say that Anthony Walker, our wonderful music director, is conducting three of the operas, Così fan tutte, Semele, and Yardbird. And thus we are able to twist his arm and have him help produce the reduction. So in other words, he will craft how the piece goes. The cuts, obviously, for Handel will be fairly extensive, and how he crafts the orchestra out of a much smaller group. So Handel is also the perfect vehicle for young singers. Many of Handel's original performers were in their early 20s, which seems fairly astonishing because they're very challenging pieces, musically gorgeous, but full of wonderful challenges. And then wrapping up the season, Charlie Parker's Yardbird is an opera that we had already announced as part of our season, but we had announced it in a different venue at the August Wilson Center, and because of COVID, we're not able to perform there. So what we're doing is we're jettisoning the production that we were going to be doing and creating a new, more intimate production in the space. And as it basically takes place in a nightclub, because guess where Charlie Parker spent most of his life. So we'll be turning the space into a nightclub. So that's the rundown. I couldn't be happier with the fact that we are doing these pieces. And I should point out that we're not only doing 4 performances of each, we're doing 6 performances of each in order to squeeze a few more people in under safe conditions. And we will be live streaming at least 1 performance of each production. We may be expanding that because all of you out there are still maybe a little concerned, not sure about coming into a space with other people. You can still stay connected with us and our wonderful performers via live stream.
Indeed. Speaking of wonderful performers, this season presents a very unique season. Often our resident artists that are with us year in and year out, we offer 2 productions to them typically that are dedicated to them. We do the one in the Kappa, and then we do one in the second stage every year. This year, the entire season, essentially, with the exception of a few roles in Yardbird, are being cast by our resident artists, essentially sort of an in-house company, which is unique, obviously, to Pittsburgh Opera, but this is a very unique challenge. So let's take a quick look at some of them. We'd love to sort of pre-introduce our resident artist singers initially. And later in the summer, we're going to get a chance to chat with each of them individually to introduce them to all of you. So we're very much looking forward to that. But for today, this is an opportunity to kind of give a big, broad overview and talk about the involvement of the resident artists in this particular season, far more than in past seasons. So we'll kind of just go around the group here. If you're watching, up left is Mezzo Soprano Myra Carmack. First year, we're thrilled to be having her join us in this coming year. And Christopher, any thoughts and looking forward to having Myra with us?
Yeah, very much so. So she most recently has been a studio artist at Palm Beach Opera. So she'll be coming up from Florida. Oh dear. Well, guess what? They're all quarantining for 2 weeks before they come into the building. Wonderful, wonderful singer, gorgeous tone to her mezzo. She's it's not a technical term, but it's a sort of meatier, rounder sound. And thus beautifully appropriate for Dorabella in Così fan tutte, and Ino in Semele. So she'll also be in Charlie Parker's Yardbird, but those 2 will be superb for her. and looking forward to her enormously. And by the way, we should point out to our viewers that this really is the scoop of all time, because we have not officially announced this run-up to the public. Press release is going out tomorrow. So if you're watching Facebook Live, good for you. You're getting some information ahead of everybody else. So who's next up? Is that Jeremy?
Next to her, top row in the middle, is Jeremy Carr. We look forward to having him, again, first year with us.
Yes, so Jeremy Ha is this unusual creature. He's a very young bass. He's a real bass. Often lower voices take time to develop, and they get time to expand lower in the register. So Jeremy is coming to us most recently, interestingly, from Wolf Trap Opera. Mm-hmm. So Wolf Trap, he was announced to perform all sorts of things at Wolf Trap down in the DC area. And they, of course, along with all the rest of us, had to cancel, but they pivoted and they changed their presentations into a lot of virtual activity. So he's been down there filming scenes in the woods and rehearsing remotely, with masks on, getting into the swing of things. So we're looking forward to him enormously. I think he also trained at the at Oberlin. Oberlin, as you know, is a wonderful conservatory, not that far away from us in Ohio. So he'll be returning to almost his hunting grounds. So who's next?
And he's down there with Shannon Jennings, former RA, and Crystal Manich, who are also going down this path in this uncharted path. Next to Jeremy, top row is Veronique Filou. Again, first year, looking forward to having her with us as well.
So exactly, Veronique is going to be singing Dorabella. She'll be singing Despina. Mm-hmm. And she also has a role in Yardbird. Mm-hmm. And she will be singing the title role of Semele, which is the most delicious challenge for any young soprano. Veronique, as I'm sure we've all figured out, is French-American. And she's been in a lot of different places, and most recently at Central City Opera. So that's also one of those summer festivals where a number of our graduates and alums have performed. So she is, new to us. And I should sort of just point out that one of our first year sopranos last year, Natasha Wilson, who is New Zealand, a New Zealander, will not be returning this upcoming season. She's taking the year off because she's in New Zealand where things are quite safe, and it didn't make any sense to her or to us that she should come back into the States. So we hope to have her back the year after. So, but we're thrilled to have Veronique with us for this season.
Indeed.
And then, who's next?
So rounding out the first years, I'm going to jump to the bottom row middle, Madeleine Aylinger, another soprano who's going to be with us as well.
Yes, so Madeleine is out of Yale, and Yale has got a fantastic School of Music program, fantastic opera program, and they always arrive so incredibly well trained. She's performed at other places like Houston Grand Opera. She was also at Central City, and has got a nice bunch of prizes under her belt already. Also a beautiful soprano voice, a slightly more lyric, richer, creamier sound, and therefore perfect for Fiordiligi in Così and the role of Juno in Semele. Mm-hmm. So looking forward to welcoming her enormously.
Indeed. And the last two gentlemen in this photo here need no introduction, but to Angel Romero and Yazid Gray, who are returning to us for the second year. Yazid, as we talked about David T. Little's production of Soldier Songs, will be taking on that solo role. And I would say we're thrilled to have these two young singers back with us as well, rounding out this class.
Yeah, we could all go a long time on about them, how great they are. Angel, fantastic tenor with high notes for days. He's been sheltering down with his family in Houston. Looking forward to having him back. And as you say, Yazid, who I think has been sheltering in Pittsburgh, will be in everything next season. So he's got a very busy year.
Indeed. Well, that's good for a second year. Keep them busy, and that's
keep him out of trouble.
the endeavor. So the last of the resident artists that I just want to bring in here quickly before we sign off is Kaylie Karras-Smith, our first-year resident artist stage director. And how is she? Tell us a little bit about Kaylie and what her assignments look like for the year.
Right. So not everybody might know that we have a stage director slot as a resident artist, and this is something we concocted years ago because this is a crucial area of training, and nobody actually does it formally. So people with an interest in becoming opera stage directors really have to cobble together their own training, and so we are part of that by finding people who have in our world. One of the ways you learn is by assisting. So you often get hired to be assistant director in many shows. And unlike the theater maybe, where assistant director maybe can have some creative input, the role of assistant director in opera is actually pretty, it's all about keeping the book, and it's a lot of logistics and details. It's very complicated, it's very challenging, it's very difficult, and we love good assistant directors. But once you're a good assistant director, you of course yearn to be a stage director. Kaylie has done a lot of really, really good work as an assistant director, and is now completely ready to take on actual challenges. And so for her as a fledgling stage director, being able to come to a company like ours and to be given your own production, Soldier Songs, in your first year with us is a pretty major coup. So she will be assisting on the other operas, but she'll be directing Soldier Song.
Indeed. There's so much that we have to look forward to. I'm just going to throw up this quick comment from Ms. Amy Kelman, who says, "I'm so impressed with what you have all created for us." Thank you, Amy. It's a lot of hard work, but a lot of good work. I think we are all very excited to present this. I don't want to speak for Christopher and the rest of the staff, but it's a pleasure to be able to bring something to our community in the midst of all of this.
Right, and I should say, some people have said, well, why are you bothering? Why didn't you just do it all virtually? I mean, it's so complicated. And, this is the weird thing about us, I'm afraid, is that as human beings, we believe we very much we yearn for the sound of, the true sound of voices. And filtering through recordings and whatnot is great. I mean, we're lucky that we can do that. But you need to be in the space and hear the sound. And so people like Amy, one of our wonderful supporters, absolutely knows that. What I'm hoping is that a lot of our viewers might be thinking, well, I've never really been to the opera. I don't know about this, but this is a golden opportunity you live stream it. You live stream it, let check into it. And I guarantee you that after live streaming one performance, you're going to be in the audience the next time. So, and we're doing it for our audience, for the community. We're not doing it for ourselves. I mean, we sort of are because we're all obsessed. But we together, I know, feel the urgent need to find a way through this problem. Yeah. And we believe we are able to do that. So, so I'm thrilled that we can produce this. I'm thrilled, Rob, that your phone has not rung and you didn't have to dash off to the hospital. And I'm very glad it didn't rain, so I didn't have to decamp inside. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Good luck whenever the phone does ring.
Thank you.
I don't know whether you'll be on next Thursday, but I hope you will.
It's all TBD, but thank you, Christopher. Thanks for being here. To your point, I think, as I have said in weeks past, it really is about connecting with the community, which is exactly why we are endeavoring to offer these in-person live performances, but at the same time, digital. We're going to look at live stream, and there are lots of other activities that are still being planned. We have a myriad of high-level education opportunities that Marilyn Egan helms year after year. We've got our brown bag series that we're still looking at. There's a lot of online engagement with donors, pre-curtain lectures, opera up close. So we are still endeavoring to connect both live and digitally moving forward. So it's we're just happy that we can do this during this time.
But we can't do it without your donations, so donate now.
Indeed, which is a great segue to sort of wrap things up. So if you are so inclined, please check out the link or in the comments or the website below. Christopher, thank you so much for being here today. Thanks for taking the time. And as for people who don't know, you just recently had some rotator cuff surgery, so we hope you're out on the mound pitching soon.
My shoulder's doing just fine. So,
good. Good. Well,
thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks, Christopher. Have a great evening.
Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, so that's kind of an overview of our upcoming season. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with me today. Always a thrill to be with you to talk about some things Pittsburgh Opera and otherwise. So please look forward to seeing you. Thank you for all of the comments and well wishes in the comments section. Looking forward to this next adventure with my wife Jill. And but until next week, please be well, stay safe, and we will look forward to seeing you as soon as we can this fall. All right, take care, be well.